Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to the Afterparty, baby, where I have a wiggling puppy in my jacket, so I'm not really sure how long this episode's going to last. But hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Amanda.
It's Thanksgiving dinner right now, and Amanda has brought a puppy to it, and I think that's pretty rude because this pumpkin is inside of the turkey, and I think that's pretty rude.
But I think that it's festive because it is a pumpkin.
Wait, the puppy pumpkin is inside of the turkey?
Yeah, because he's eating it, not because they cooked him.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
like one of those situations where like you take it out and then like you turn your back and then you look back and then the dog is like eating the ham.
Yeah.
But the puppy is inside the turkey.
Oh, it's like a Monica Geller situation.
Yes, clearly.
Sure.
No, it's not. All right, the scene's over, Brandon. No, it's not.
Damn.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the innermost sanctum of the divine labyrinth. It's what I used to say when I took dates home, ? I don't know. I'm feeling weird. Most of what I've eaten for the last few days is just kind of scraps from the fridge in preparation for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
My mom's not going to listen to this. You can say whatever you want.
No, I know. And 2 weeks of coffee. So, we're just rolling. We're just
If we
vibing.
sound different, we are recording this in my mom's basement. Now, does it have an incredibly large TV and soundproofing? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Are we still in my mom's basement? Yes.
Is the ceiling still unfinished from what I can see in the video?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, dog. I am looking at some pipes that go to various places in the house.
There are
Insulation?
floor joists.
But because she and her husband met working for a speaker company, high quality speakers with like audio jacks I've never seen, and I'm kind of an audio engineer at this point, and it's pretty exciting. Julia and Brandon, how are you doing? How was it watching people watch and listen to these shenanigans that we recorded first separately and now together in the Divine Labyrinth?
I enjoyed listening to what you all got up to while you were in the Divine Labyrinth without me, which was very fun. But I also was very stressed listening to, not even like listening to you guys, but like being off the call and like my headphones on the other side of my desk and still hearing screaming. And I was like, oh God. Oh no. That's not good.
These are like my favorite moments because, I get to, before the audience hears it, but before my other players, like co-players, hear it, who didn't play it. Like, I heard what Julia did before Amanda did, because I got to edit it, and before the audience did. And so
I'm
it's
hearing
just
that
like
Brandon loves knowing things when I don't know them. And no, it's very cool to listen to an episode and be like, oh my God, that's what happened to Julia.
Yeah.
I was like, man, Julia had a tough one in episode 28 while we were having just like various adventures.
Yeah.
It does make more sense. I do like that you say various adventures when, like, you two realize that your companion had a divine quest to kill the other.
Yeah, that was tough. Didn't see that one coming.
Was that tough for you?
Just fun.
I mean, we wouldn't have let it happen.
Unlike Brandon and Julia, I didn't like that I knew something you didn't know. And so when we finally discussed that, I was very relieved. But we gotta get to where we got in order, people. So let's begin, of course, with episode 28, where we separately met Panorama, where Havana got that divine revelation that we talked about, and Julia got a very cute spirit lamp. Eric, lots of questions here about just like what's up with Panorama's whole thing, and also what the fuck is wrong with these birds? Like, what's happening with these birds?
What's up
what
with the
exactly
birds?
is wrong with them? And Skolas was like, I gotta know what's happening with these birds in particular. So, what can you tell us about Panorama and the birds?
Yeah, is there anything you can reveal, actually? Like, are we there yet, or do we need to wait till the end of this arc for you to tell us what the fuck is happening?
Okay. Well, Panorama built or grew the Divine Labyrinth.
Mm-hmm. She's the Daedalus.
Yeah, she is the Daedalus. That was the funniest thing when Umbi was like, do I know this person? I'm like, it's like you're looking at Play-Doh. Pretty weird.
Pretty weird. Just ran into Play-Doh.
Yeah. You know, like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure when all these guys show up? It's like that.
Yeah, on that note, it's me, Danny B, wanted to know if any of the players rolled history, not just Umbi, could we have known that Panorama was like a figure we would have known? I simply just didn't think to do it.
Well, just because Panorama had a model in our actual history doesn't mean that they were a figure in the green folks space, you know what I'm saying?
She might have been.
Might have
The
been.
thing that I was more trying to get at was it was like, it's weird to know. That's why I was saying Play-Doh. It's like, it's weird to know that this was a dude. Like, Julia, you played the Assassin's Creed Greece 1 game, right?
I did too.
I
you
did
did
not
too?
actually, so ask Brandon about it.
Oh,
I
okay.
did.
But like, Brandon, wasn't it funny how like all of a sudden you were like doing a fetch quest for like Play-Doh?
Yeah, it really
and,
was.
like, and he was like, "Can you get like 5 honeys for me before I wrestle a dude?"
Yeah, and that one really horny guy, I forget his name, who's just always horny and drunk. Yeah.
They're always horny and drunk.
Or even like Pliny the Elder, where we get all this like medieval medicine from. Like that was a real person.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that whether or not Panorama was known or a mythological person like Daedalus, it was more like this person who only existed in the 12th century turns out is a person. That was more of like it wasn't about knowing them or not knowing them. It was more about like the feeling of understanding that this person of history was real.
This person that we mythologized is actually like a real person that we can talk to now.
Yeah, regardless of whether or not you are aware of the mythology itself.
It was really similar to like in the game when Pliny the Elder was like, "Hey, I'm Pliny the Elder. Isn't that weird? Do you want to hold this bag? Hey, hey, hold this bag. Hey, hold my bag."
Eric, what was in the bag?
Pliny the Elder was like, "Yo, if you have gallstones, hold this bag."
And here I quote Afterparty question from Mage Silverleaf. What was in the bag?
What was in the bag?
What was in the bag?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Oh boy. Can you tell us
damn
anything
it.
about those birds? Dem birds?
Uh-huh.
Oh boy.
Panorama's afraid of the birds.
Oh guys, the arc
and gave you
isn't
and
over.
wanted you to hold something.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Cool.
Mhm.
Oh boy.
Cool.
Once again, is it more satisfying if I tell you or I don't tell you? I think it's more satisfying if I don't.
Yes.
Not,
it
I
is.
mean, not to me, but we also have a few episodes in the maze, so I don't know if you want to reveal that yet.
Okay, the question surgeon, Michelle Spurgeon,
Oh, okay, Michelle.
took some scalpels to this episode because she wants to know a couple of things that I was really curious about too. One, was Havana actually hearing the planter, or was it perhaps Panorama, since she could see everything happening in her maze?
Can Panorama see everything happening in her maze?
I don't know. I thought that was an interesting thought, though.
Panorama was like aware, was more like, oh, I built the mousetrap, so yeah, I probably understand what you're doing. I don't know if Panorama can see everything, but also she has the name Panorama.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Tough.
Yeah, Havana
It's not like
was...
Eric ever names things in a way that should give us a clue.
I will say it's just a cool name in general.
Yeah.
It is.
It was also like vaguely Greek too. I feel like Panorama has a Greek root, so I
It
also
is.
thought that was, in terms of Daedalus, I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever made that name, pretty cool. Yeah, Havana did talk to the planter. This was like when you have to talk to the water company when your water's off.
Yeah.
Is how I envisioned it, or like
Makes sense.
calling
Yeah,
up Con Ed if your electricity goes out.
True.
True fact.
Dr. Spurgeon also wanted to know, was the labyrinth in fact designed by Panorama, or was it designed by the planter? And I'm adding on to Michelle's question, like, what makes it divine? And who else is cursed in this labyrinth?
In my mind, if I can just extrapolate and then Eric can give us a real answer,
Please.
it feels very Noah and the Ark, and how God gave Noah the plans to build the Ark and then was like, but you gotta build it. I can't just make the Ark for you.
Yeah.
God, I hate it when God does that to me. He's like, here's the plans for free energy, but I can't just fucking build it for you, dude. Fucking build it, man.
I'll give you the specs, but you gotta figure everything else out.
First of all, when God talked to me, and when she, by the way, when she told me you should make an actual play podcast in 2017, I'm like, but I don't wanna. Seems bad.
We've been, this is a little bit of a tangent, but Lauren and I have been watching that new Monarch show, the new Godzilla show on Apple TV.
really?
And every time we talk about Godzilla, because we weren't sure what Godzilla's gender was, we do that. We're like, oh yeah, then when she comes up from the ocean.
That's so much funnier for Godzilla than for God. That's so funny.
A+.
That's very funny, Brandon. Joking for you.
Thanks.
There you go. Yeah, I think it's like that. Yeah, I don't think I don't think there's more to say. I think just the details there, kind of that sort of vibe. Yeah.
What's in the text is what we got.
Yeah, I'm dead. Hey, hello.
Yeah.
My name's the author. I'm dead. And and it's just there.
Love it. Post-structuralism, baby. Okay, let's go into
Is
episode...
it Dungeons and Dragons really like having a zombie as your author? coming to NYU English department.
God, I wish.
2026.
Would someone just hire Eric to teach? He has a master's in education. Just hire him as a professor, please.
Please.
All right, getting into episode 29, we meet the riddle stump. We get the salt, something genuinely helpful and valuable.
This episode probably, and I know that I'm going to say the same thing about episode 30, but this episode might be a quintessential episode of Dungeons & Dragons, a quintessential Dungeons & Dragons session, and also of one of our episodes of Join the Party. It is just like everything you want from a session of game.
Say more.
Well, it's like, I gave you a puzzle, you found other stuff, you dealt with the puzzle however you dealt with, the dice rolls were involved, you also were engaging with kind of the core mechanic of the arc at the same time, and you ended up getting to a goal that you've been working towards for the last few episodes. So I think this was pretty quintessential, and also I certainly enjoyed myself.
Mm-hmm.
I also enjoyed myself.
Yes.
I also enjoyed myself. My favorite part that we've been quoting since we recorded that episode is, I fucked it.
We've been saying that so much.
So often. It's so good. For months, guys.
For months.
Matt Lino wants to know, importantly, Eric, did you know beforehand that the stump would have a hot video girl game bod?
Yeah, in my notes for this, I did write down the stump will have a magical girl transformation. I did not know in episode 29, but I realized it was funny. It would be funny if they had a transformation once they went to the Grove.
Plus, you had to give them a reason to follow us around the Grove,
Yeah.
too.
I knew that they were going to be involved because the thing was like, again, I wrote this down. The stump was always on the liminal space of the Grove and the rest of the Labyrinth. So I always knew the Grove was going to be inside of the... Julius is getting fucked by the sun
I know,
right
hold
now.
on. Just keep talking, I'm going to fix it.
I saw it happen, and I'm like, oh, that's so disappointing.
And she's wearing a shirt that makes her look like a skeleton, so
It's great.
a lot's happening.
Sure.
I like it.
Julia's
Thanks, guys.
getting... Her bones are getting bleached. It's messed up.
It's true.
Yeah, I always had the notes, so I knew that the stump was going to be in there. I just thought it would be funny for them to like have a different form inside of the Grove. Be like, you're seeing my true form.
Is the form more a Lara Croft Tomb Raider situation or more an anime girl situation? Like Lara Croft in the first computer game.
Brandon, I was going to say
yeah.
incredibly
Triangle.
polygonal chest.
Okay,
Yeah.
They announced during a Nintendo Direct recently a sort of remastering of that game, and I'm like, they still kept the pointy boobs.
Did they really?
You can switch between the original graphics and quote unquote newer graphics.
That's amazing.
And it's really upsetting.
That's
It is
really
upsetting.
funny.
Dr. Spurgeon wonders, how is Havana feeling about being told to get rid of the person who has shown him the path?
Let me throw this to Julia, who did this to herself.
I did do this to myself.
The author of this situation. I want to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I assume this wouldn't have necessarily happened if we had chosen like Black Hat or whatever, right?
No, 100% not.
Okay.
No way.
I did this to myself, just like Eric said.
That's
Kind of
why
moral
ever
reckoning.
since Julia applied the amber to this, I've been laughing about it.
That's fair. That is fair. That is fair. I do want to circle back to episode 28 and one of my favorite moments, which was a choice that I didn't struggle with, but had to fight back my immediate player reaction to what Cammy would do. This is frustrating to me, not frustrating in a bad way, but frustrating in a constructive character way. But having Cammy be an extremely kind person, that is how I'm trying to play Cammy, an extremely kind person who has also been threatened to be murdered by people who love her in the past. Having Havana be like, oh yeah, I might have gotten a divine quest from the planter saying I have to potentially kill you. Cammy being like, you're still my friend, but if you try to kill me, you can try.
That was my favorite line of yours in a long time.
It was
Thank
really,
you.
really
If you
good.
try to kill me, I will end you.
I will end you.
I was wondering. That's why I was playing it so nervously, because Havana doesn't want to tell you. That's the thing. It's like, what is Havana supposed to do? It's like, okay, here's my friend, and then also, the god I worship is telling me to do this, so I'm gonna wait for as long as possible until I have to decide what to do. Question mark?
Or wait for the opportunity to present itself,
Right. Exactly.
Relatedly, EP Fellow wants to know, given that Havana is having a big character arc in the last few episodes, I have to know, Eric, did you have any plans for the potential arcs of other variations of Havana?
No. The way that I do this stuff is like I give you 3 choices, and then once you make the choice, then I go from there.
Yeah.
There are certainly things, larger things, that I need to plan as far ahead as possible. Like, I know a lot of stuff that would happen at the end of this campaign, but these things have to be on an episode-by-episode basis so that I can make choices. And Julia, the true author of this particular arc, like, y'all did it. And it would have been different. Yeah, Havana really inserted himself into this.
It's like Julia grew the maze.
It was
Julia's
Julia.
Panorama the whole
Julia.
time.
It was me. I'm Panorama.
Can I ask a question about 28 before we fully go on to everything that went on in the Grove?
Sure.
How did the 3 of you feel listening to each other dealing with Panorama?
I thought it was funny that we did the exact same thing.
My favorite part was when I had this written out, Panorama, and I knew that when one of you did the thing where you ran into a denizen of the maze, I knew I was going to do it. And then I realized I could do it to both of you at different times, which I was like, hell fucking yes. So Umbi and Troy went first, and then Cammy went second. How did you two feel listening to it?
I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was, I guess, like sort of ironic, maybe even, I don't know if ironic's the right word, but that we sort of mind melded into the same exact people where we're like, this bag? No.
It's also not frequent that Brandon's and my skepticism is anywhere near as close as Julia's in a given situation. And so I was proud of us in retrospect for not trusting Panorama.
It was good, guys. I was very worried that Troy was just going to be like, oh, sick bag, and just take it.
Nah, got pockets full of sawdust. I don't have space.
That was so funny.
The funny thing is that, like, if Panorama had been like, oh, shoot, I dropped my journal. Would you mind holding this bag for a second so I can pick it up? I would have been like, yeah, totally. And
That's true. I would have just done it.
who knows what would happen.
That's very funny. Yeah.
No, it was really fun. It's very cool to see how, I mean, for me especially, how Julia would approach a situation, because like there are, like, I think Brandon handles combat super, super well, and like all of the ways that you make sure that your resources are best deployed, and like thinking about how to fit in. No, it's true to like all of us in initiative, but Julia approaches situations in a way that is so like creative, and thinking about how she can like check and optimize and, you know, look out for how to, she's making a little Humi face. Oh yeah. And so seeing Julia approach situations, I'm like taking notes essentially as a player.
Same.
And not just on plot, but like how you should approach things as a player. So it's always so lovely to me when I get to see that.
Yeah, agreed.
I also forgot how mean Panorama was at times. Cammy approaches every situation like, this is my new best friend. This is the potential to like meet someone who is going to change my life forever, and I really appreciate that, and I want them to feel as good about this interaction as possible. And then Panorama was really mean, and Cammy was like, oh, okay.
So we're doing this.
You want to give me a weird bag? I've been cursed once before. I'm not going to do this again.
Yeah, no, it was sick. My comparison point for this, just to give you some comparison point for what I was thinking, I was referencing this character in an old season of Dimension 20, where it was the one with all the guests, where they did like Lord of the Rings, and everyone were villains from like a Lord of the Rings style fantasy setting. And there was one NPC that Brendan Lee Mulligan did, where it was a guy who was like a world famous or like legendary blacksmith who was really worried that someone was going to steal his bones, and like the water was going to steal his bones.
Yep, makes sense.
Incredible.
Because he was like inside of a cage in water for so long that he was worried his bones were going to evaporate. And he was like, okay, well, you have to interact with this person because he is going to make you the crown that you need for this particular ritual you're going to do. And I thought Panorama was similar. It's like, if you want to interact with Panorama, the person who created the puzzle you're inside of, you are going to have to deal with this absolutely insane person.
Yeah.
And of course, do you know whether or not, is she actually insane? Are the birds real? Are you going to take the bag? Are you going to believe her? Was kind of like the whole thing there.
Yeah.
Eric, without confirming or denying, players, do you think the birds are or will be real? Or is Panorama sort of just like in a curse situation, like what's his face who pushes the boulder up the hill, Sisyphus?
Yeah. I'm operating as if they are literally real.
What do you think, Julia?
Yeah, I have to assume that there is some sort of like magical bird that we just don't know about in the labyrinth.
So why didn't you take the bag?
Because I think she's gonna fucking give us birdseed and make us a target so she can escape.
She also spent a lot of time being like, make sure you push your slower friends down so the birds get them first. I'm like,
that
I
was
could
really
be
funny.
the slower friend in that situation. She's trying to make me the slower friend.
If you look around and you're on the ground and everyone else has run away from you, you're the slowest friend.
You're the worm.
Also, if she is so concerned about the birds getting her, why would she give us something that is going to, like, that is potentially a resource
Right.
that she's no longer having, that she's giving to us?
It was on. I just want to lay out. It was on her waist. It was in a bag. Y'all assumed it was birdseed. I never said it was bird. I never said it was birdseed.
Right.
We truly do not know what is in
It
the
could be
bag.
the bodies of our enemies. We know, yeah.
Now I assume it's salt because, interestingly, metaphorically, literally, salt has been a very useful and valuable weapon against the harvester. And maybe now looking back, that's part of what she has. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. I
I don't know.
I don't know if I trust her or not. The fact that it was basically a fail roll when we got to meet Panorama both times. So that makes me
Yeah, we don't know.
concerned that
That's right.
it's
Yeah.
not a good thing.
I also don't know, like, what Panorama's.
Panorama.
Bam and out.
Well, I don't know what Panorama's relationship with the harvester is. You know, if it's like antagonistic or if it's symbiotic or
Mm-hmm.
Or
what.
she grew him, or
Yeah.
we don't know. We simply don't
We
know.
simply don't know. We also don't know something that Venus Moon asked, which is, I really liked the idea of the salt repelling the harvester because IRL, of course, salt harms plants. Is this purely an arcane interaction, or is the harvester somehow more prone to salt poisoning because of his roots?
Yeah, both. Yeah, you got it. You got it, Venus.
Nice.
Nice.
Good job.
Good job, Venus.
Nice.
The whole thing about the harvester being roots and salt, I thought was appropriate.
Very cool.
Also, I listened to Spirits podcast, A Boozy Dives in the Myths and Legends. Every week we pour a drink and talk about harvester. I'm
got
Amanda.
So
Circle
close
around
to
the
the
world.
whole
I was so
thing.
close. I'm
You got
Amanda
it.
and I'm Julia, and this is episode 300. Eric's on.
I'm Amanda, and I'm Julia. That was spot on. That
We
was
actually
perfect.
recently.
That was.
we
I
actually-
was.
hang on. Breaking news.
Oh, okay.
We recently switched it. So instead of me saying I'm Amanda, first Julia, well, I say that and then Julia says I'm Julia, but then Julia starts the episode.
Whoa.
Because
I
we
don't see
realized
anything
it's
after
silly
that.
for Amanda to start the episode.
Why do I know what it's about? When all I know is the title of the episode, then Julia teaches me the thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, huge.
Huge.
367 episodes in.
You can make changes to your podcast even 360 something episodes in. Just saying.
Are y'all ready to get into the Grove?
Yes. 100%.
Hell yeah, dude.
Let's get in the
Okay.
groove with the Grove.
Wow.
This might be my favorite episode we've done in the arc. I know I just said it for 29, but this one might be
Wait,
the best
hold on.
episode we've done.
We
so
didn't
far.
talk about the riddles for 29.
Oh yeah, we have to talk about the fucking
Okay, let's do that
riddles.
first.
Hey folks! Hey fucking folks! You goddamn three!
Yeah.
You three?
Yeah.
These riddles were supposed to be impossible.
So we did it, is what you're saying. We did it.
So would we had to have figured out a different way to get into the Grove?
Yes.
Oh.
The thing would have been, or someone would have told you explicitly the answers.
Well, someone did. It was our GM.
No, that's no, it was your incredible rolls. I made the DC 25.
Well, no, we rolled 2 nat 20s in the first two, and then the last one, the DC was 25, and we didn't hit that one, but I got the answer
But you said
right.
it.
You
I mean, what
just
am I gonna
guessed.
do? You would have if I wouldn't have said no. I think that was pretty close. I think that was pretty close.
So Eric, tell us about the riddles as a mechanic in this game, and B, a thing that you actually like mechanically put together.
No, I want to hear whatever Julie is gonna say.
Oh, I was going to ask, when you say someone would have had to explicitly tell us the answers to the riddles, did you think maybe we would return back to like Panorama and ask her or something to that effect?
I had a few ideas of things you could have done. One of which was go to Panorama and ask what explicitly the riddles were, because she would have known.
Hey Amanda, you can't just ask NPCs answers to questions in Dungeons and Dragons.
I think
Hey
you can.
Amanda, you need to roll for things.
Well, okay, in this specific situation, yes, you can. Yes, you definitely can.
The thought, I'm saying that because the thought literally crossed my mind. Who can I ask what the answer is? And I'm like, Amanda, idiot. You're doing a TTRPG podcast. People don't want to hear you just ask what the answer is.
We got to roll dice.
That's where I was waiting for it too, because like it was so funny that each of you met this person individually, and then you would have went. It's like, oh, you know who would tell us for help? Oh, hey, you know there was a weird flower lady we met. What? I was waiting for that moment, but it happened in a different way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I would not go back to a person that was like, hey, look at me, look at my eyes, hold my bag. Hey, hold my bag.
I think at that point we would have been like, in exchange for taking the bag, you have to tell us the answers to the riddles.
Yeah.
Unless it's like
Fuck
a
that.
drunk girl in a bathroom, in which case I'd do anything for her.
Yes, correct. She has to pee, but her purse is so big.
Imagine everyone rolled like below an 18 on that
Oh, yeah,
first
yeah.
riddle. Because I think the fact that you rolled a nat 20 and got the first riddle, gave you all too much confidence.
Yes, it really did.
It did. Let's come back to this later.
It's like, fuck it. We'll just run away from the harvester, make their life harder, and then come back.
That was actually one thing that surprised me about Julia's parts of the Divine Labyrinth episodes is we just like directly engaged the harvester so quickly, and they like attacked us and we attacked them, that Julia being surprised that we had not just run away surprised me. And
I had the same
so
thought.
right, like Brandon and I was like, oh yeah, I mean, almost killed Savannah, NBD, that happens every day, like it happens.
Yeah, because we had the conversation of like, can we even fight this guy? Like,
Right.
Like we wanted to see if it was something we could actually defeat, or if it was like a immovable object that we needed to somehow otherwise avoid. And Julia, the smart one on the podcast, was like, this is clearly not something I can defeat right now.
Yeah. We were like, let's
think
try.
But I think it's different because Cammy saw it from a tower and be like, gotta avoid that dude. And you two got fucking Kool-Aid manned by the harvester.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
we did.
So I think it was just different situations being set up, even if it's like the same premise.
Nah, it's because Julia's smart.
Yeah.
I was thinking of it video game style, and how there's a lot of games where like the whole point is don't get caught by the giant boss in this level.
One
Yeah.
Mystifer Xtifer.
Yeah, Mr. X is a really good version of this. Yes, Brandon, that was 100% one of the references that I was thinking about. That's from Resident Evil. Oh,
2?
One of them.
two? I think it's
two.
2, 3. It's
Yeah.
one of those where like there's a guy who's like a giant bioweapon who's running after you and killing you perpetually. Yeah, I mean it's good video game design. I stole it, so it was. I thought it was really, the Harvester has just been a fun.
You fell into my trap card. I'm serving you a lawsuit, Eric, for stealing Mr. X.
Oh no, piss!
You admitted it.
I'm going. Sorry, we can't continue the podcast. I'm going to jail.
Aw. Oh no.
let's-
You can run for president from jail, but you can't DM from
That's
jail.
true.
That's
true.
That's a
Tough.
fact.
That Eugene Debs proved that.
It would be
Oh,
so
tough.
expensive too, those phone calls, you know.
Come to join the party. We're the one with the commentary about the prison industrial complex.
A collect call from.
You know what? I could get fucking MailChimp for that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I could get them.
That's so funny. Oh my god.
Anything else on the riddles before we move into the grove?
Yeah, I mean the whole thing. So the first one was obscure. Was supposed to be just obscure. The second one was a translation error, and the third one was supposed to be totally just out of left field.
Yeah.
But that's where Brandon lives.
Yeah, Brandon lives in the
You
fields.
shouldn't ask a chaos monster a chaos question, Eric.
Yeah.
It's facts.
No, that's on me. So yeah, I think that you all got so much empowerment from that first nat 20 that you didn't. I really did like. I ended up recording this later, but I'm like, Julia, the only way you would know the like final things of creation is from a deep rhyme that is embedded in your brain that you only learned from outdoor school, which is what I'm calling path religious studies for children.
That's very cute.
And like that's what you did, and you wrote it out, and then we inserted it later, and I thought that was really great.
I was very proud of the poem I wrote.
Your poem was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Thank
People liked
you.
it too.
Yeah, it was tight.
I just opened up Rhyme Zone. I'm like, all right, let's come up with good words that rhyme with all these things.
That was tight. But yeah, I mean, I had a lot of ideas. Like you could have gotten into the Grove in a few different ways, but getting the riddles and then making the harvester your bitch was not one on my list.
Gotcha.
The image of the harvester like throwing themselves against the salt circle to get the scythe back is one of the kind of prouder moments of like D&D creativity that I can think of from our years on the show.
Mm-hmm. I was very happy with how I tried to solve that problem of the harvester and the salt.
You mean the way you initially said it was like put it on the entrances or like the circle?
I was very proud of,
Just the idea in general?
yeah, just like using the salt in the way that I did with my magic and also getting the scythe away from the harvester. I thought that was, I was very proud of that.
You should be, yeah.
The single most mad that I've been so far has been when the salt circle was broken and I hit you and I did like 30 points of damage and you're like, oh, that's not so bad. And I'm like, Julia, fuck off. Yes, it is. It's bad.
I was very concerned that I was going to have to get a Troy situation where I was down and potentially very close to the end of my HP. And that's why I think in the episode I said, Captain Copernicus Cod is waking up somewhere.
Yeah.
Eric, how did you decide that the salt circle had been disrupted in the scuffle?
Yeah.
Is that something you rolled? Is that something that you
Yes, I rolled.
decided on?
I rolled
Okay.
on it. I really try to roll as loudly as possible so it gets picked up on the microphone. But yeah,
That's fair.
I rolled, and whatever happened with the salt circle happened because of the roll that I made. Yeah.
I guess my more specific question is, just because, like, what in your mind, I guess you can't really get at this without it being a spoiler, but, like, is it just a bunch of us are fleeing and it's likely that someone may have tripped, or, like, this is a, unstable, impermanent sort of shield that I need to see how,
No, I
intact
think
it
something
is?
happened. I mean, that's what happened in episode 30, was like when Cammy was checking shoes, was like, yeah, Havana does have salt on his shoes, and there's a lot of it. But, like, doesn't everyone have sand on their feet when they walk in from the beach? So it doesn't look great, but it also is circumstantial. And that's what I was rolling for.
Yeah.
Very fair. It's just an idea that popped into my head of, this is perhaps a way to escape direct culpability, but kind of like make something happen for like the thing that Havana was tasked with, and like a convenient way out of his dilemma. So
yeah, that's a good motive for Havana, but it sounds like the evidence is circumstantial. So.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Not something we'll have to reckon with down the line.
Certainly not. Certainly not.
Yeah, and it's a good thing. And I'm really sorry. Again, what I want to say is that I'm really sorry that I put Cammy and Havana in such conflict. Like, it was really rude for me to put that on the players, and I think that I was really controlling the narrative.
That was really all your fault, and I think you have to come to terms with that.
Yeah, now I'm making everyone. It was my choices that led to such conflict. Yeah,
100%, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well,
sorry
Eric,
about
the least you can do is go refill this trio of dips, will you?
that. I'm in the basement. I gotta go all the way up to the kitchen. Hold on.
Yeah.
Can you get some Foley?
Stop.
Perfect.
Hey, we're out of the red pepper dip.
Mom!
I need red pepper dip.
More Code Red!
Hello and welcome to the mid-roll. This mid-roll is the equivalent of a dog napping on your feet, keeping them warm, which we didn't have during this recording because, dogs can be noisy, but I sure did afterward. Thank you and welcome to our newest patrons, Cumulonimbus and West Erin. We are so grateful for your support. The only reason we can put so much time and energy and love and care and devotion into making Join the Party, the dozens of hours that Eric spends every month planning it, and Brandon spends editing it, and Julia spends editing these after parties, is all because of you and you letting this be one of the ways we make a living. So if you want to be a part of that, if you want to, for example, buy a present for somebody, buy them a year of Join the Party Patreon support, hey, you can do that at patreon.com/jointhepartypod. You can do it for yourself, do it for a friend, or you can join on a month-to-month basis, whatever makes sense for you. We are so grateful. You get all kinds of benefits like the patron-only Discord, where we had tons of photos of people's holiday meals for those that celebrated, and all kinds of dogs and plants and projects and crafts all the time, and party planning and so much more. Go ahead, join today, patreon.com/jointhepartypod. And hey, by the way, if you are attending PAX Unplugged or you live in the Philadelphia area or you want to visit Philly and you've been looking for an excuse, let us be your excuse. Multitude is going to be at PAX Unplugged. We're going to have a table right outside the main show floor. Come by, say hi, get stickers, get cards, come challenge one of us to a game, perhaps a tabletop game, perhaps a card game. Who even knows what's going to happen? Get an exclusive pin. Anything your heart desires, you can come do with us at PAX Unplugged. We are also doing some programming. Eric is on a great panel, and we are doing our NPC creation lab. So that party planning segment that you've come to love with Eric and Julia, making NPCs on the fly, we are doing that live in person at PAX Unplugged. So come say hi, find Multitude outside the main show floor in the Brandland tabling area, and come to our shows. It's going to be so much fun. This week at Multitude, we would love for you to check out Pale Blue Pod. This is an astronomy podcast for people who are overwhelmed by the universe but want to be its friend. Every single week, comedian Corinne Caputo and our own astrophysicist, Dr. Moya McTeer, demystify space, one topic at a time. And if you're somebody who finds space fascinating, amazing. If you're someone who finds space kind of overwhelming and terrifying, if you think about it too much, that's definitely me. Pale Blue Pod is the show for you. They have new episodes every Monday. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Now, I am definitely already feeling the sort of overwhelm of the end of the year season. I'm looking at like the number of working days before the New Year's Day and kind of freaking out a little bit because this year really brings a lot to the focus, like this time when you have to decide about traditions and families and stuff you're going to do and prioritization and saying no to stuff. Hey, I hate all of that and I need a lot of support to actually do it. And that is one of the things that I turn to therapy for. And especially this time of year, it can be so difficult to balance seeing somebody in person, finding a new therapist. It's like everybody is away already for January. And it's like, no, I need your help right now. So if you are looking to start therapy or looking for someone who is convenient and flexible and suited to your schedule, you can find that at BetterHelp. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/join the party today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/join the party. Finally, we are sponsored this week by Ravensburger Jigsaw Puzzles. And if, like me, you are planning to see people over the next month or so that you don't normally see, or maybe doing some traveling, maybe finding yourself at home with some extra time on your hands, or in someone else's home with extra time on your hands, I highly recommend bringing an activity. We often buy Legos and do them at Thanksgiving, and I always bring a puzzle whenever I go spend time with my grandma. It's really fun to do together, and she loves it. We have a little puzzle swap going on, and it's incredibly exciting and wholesome and sweet. And having a couple puzzles tucked away in, the closet or in your suitcase so that you can do something that is like social and occupies your hands, but you can have TV on or music on in the background. It's just perfect, y'all. And Ravensburger has given us a chance to talk about how much puzzles are great because they are our sponsor this week. They have become an integral part of families' lives across generations, and you too can share the joy of puzzling with family and friends, knowing that those puzzles that you buy, if they're Ravensburger brand, will stand the test of time. I have literally decades-old Ravensburger puzzles at my grandma's house, and we still pull them out and enjoy the art and the puzzles, and they look like we just bought them yesterday. It's truly amazing. So if you're up for the challenge, shop Ravensburger in your local game, hobby, or toy store today or on Amazon. They are the bomb. Thank you, Ravensburger. Enjoy. And now, let's get back to the after party.
Okay, I'm back. My mom drove me to Kroger, and I got Mountain Dew. They only had Gamer Fuel, but I think that's pretty close.
God damn it, Eric!
No, Gamer Fuel's good. It's my favorite. But I got 4 dips to make up for it. Now, it is all in one. Unfortunately, it is all in one container, so they're stacked.
That's just a layered dip now.
Yeah, but it's like more than 8 layers, so it's pretty cool.
Tough.
That's pretty tight.
It's like a trifle, Friends reference.
There is a Taco Bell next to the Kroger that has been advertising for 3 full years. Announcement, we now have breakfast.
The banner is bleached by time and wear.
And now it's on their signboard, like their light up sign.
So
like corporate needs you to know about breakfast.
Before we get into this next section, I do just need to point out and have everyone clap and applaud for the utter expertise that Amanda showed on how to put an umbrella into a beach.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Thank
I
you.
loved that.
Thank
That was
you.
so
It's like-
good.
It was very good.
You know the survival things that I've learned on a Delta flights multiple times?
We do.
Like, this is the Amanda's equivalent.
Yeah.
It's like how to set up a beach day.
It's Riptide awareness. Hey, you
There
see
it
what I
is.
did
There
there?
it is.
And techniques for carrying bricks across a yard. Those are the things that I was tutored in as a child.
Also packing a cooler.
Oh, yeah. Don't
Packing
get
a
me started
cooler.
on packing roughly Chex Watch 2002 Denali Suburban.
I'm glad because we really hit a lot of these in Camp-Paign 2 and the Camp-Paign. So I'm glad that we're finally rounding you out.
There
Yeah.
was-
Thank you.
Much more of a gap of silence in the recording after Amanda said that. I just thought that it sounded like something broke, so I had to shorten it.
Thank you.
And what did break was our brains.
Yep. It's true. True fact.
It's true. It's true. DM me. I'll tell you all about it. So lots of great questions about the Grove, but first I want to turn to my fellow players. What did you think about this? We've heard about it. We've been getting to it for several episodes now. What stood out to you?
I hope that we hit all of the things that you wanted us to hit, Eric, because it seemed like you had a lot of stuff that we could do in the Grove.
Yeah.
But also I think at that point Cammy was so done with this stump. I think at one point I said out loud, I'm like, this stump talks too much. Cammy's left.
That's fine. The stump ended up being so funny. I just loved being the stump. Much like as Julia said before, like Cammy is constantly being yelled at by people who want her to leave, but she's like, I literally can't. You're asking me to do things I can't do. The stump really was the apotheosis of that, and I was really, really enjoying it, especially as the stump like boobily ran around the Grove.
This is very good.
I know, the stump then became like the campiest drag queen in my head, and I just
Yeah.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was a real transformation between 29 and 30.
Yeah.
Brandon, what stood out to you before you got, as Glass Cat Owl put it, treated out of
I
the
know,
Grove?
that's so good. Well done. Well done.
treated, yeah.
There's like this interesting like sort of like push and pull where it's like Eric clearly meant for this to be like the Garden of Eden, where like, you know, sort of a reverence situation, but also like we went through this harrowing, annoying and death-defying thing to get into the Grove, and then the Grove was like guarded by this weird stump creature. Like, I don't know. It was just, I think I was just sort of like taken aback by the whole situation, and I was mostly curious about like what fun features Eric was going to give, like in terms of like what Eric was going to like add, and like which ones were meaningful and which ones are just sort of like fun side things for us to like look at. You know, I don't know. Maybe they're all meaningful, and we just don't know yet. But
Or maybe they were all just for funsies.
yeah,
We don't know.
it's kind of a non-answer. But will you hold my bag for a second?
No, unless you're a drunk girl in a bathroom, no.
I never want you to do anything. Like, especially with these sort of scenes where it's like, okay, this session is going to be like a bottle episode. It's going to be in this place. Like, do whatever you want.
Right.
Yeah, I had some stuff. You certainly missed some stuff in there, but that's okay. It's not a huge deal. The more thing about this was like Umbi and Brandon share a don't tell me what to do streak. And then, consequences of my actions. So, like, that's just what happens. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not doing anything to Umbi. It just fucking, that's what happens.
It follows, yeah.
Yeah.
Lovingly, thank God Cammy was there.
Oh, yes.
Well, I think like you're 100% correct, and there was no other way that could have gone down, because it's like,
Right.
one, I'm thinking like I don't really know what the actual in game, like in character, I don't really know what actually this is. Is it truly the Garden of Eden? Like, is the planter really? Is this actually a holy site, or is it like we're still discovering whether or not that's actually true when we get in there, right?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that as well.
Yeah. So Umbi isn't sure, and Umbi, you know, his people like to classically mull over things in their brains on long walks, so he hasn't had time to think about it yet. And then two,
True.
like, I ran into this person who's sleeping who like clearly needs some sort of assistance, or at least wants to, like, you know, like wake him up and be like, yo, is this okay? Like, do you need help? And who else am I gonna ask? The fucking stump who talks in riddles? Like,
Good point. Good point. Strong point.
so
Strong point.
I don't think there's any other way it could have possibly gone. But
It's funny when you're playing any game like this, like whether you're talking about a tabletop RPG or you're playing one that has dialogue choices, you're playing like Fallout or Mass Effect, you have to decide if you as a player are skeptical. Then you have to decide if you as a character are skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to decide what you're skeptical of. Because I think if you then become a skeptical character then you're just paranoid. And then people in the world think of you as a paranoid person. But as a game, I will set up scenarios, of course, where you can't trust what's in front of you. Like, this is a social deduction game just as much as it is anything else. So it's the push and pull of all of that happening. Again, nothing you do is ever wrong. I'm only saying this because LOL Umbi got treated. But it's like, man, the stump, yes, if on face value, the stump said don't do something, Umbi explicitly did it, and then consequences happened. But everything Brandon said is also 100% true. Is this a holy site, or is this a quasi-holy site, or is this a presentation of a holy site? Like the theme park next to the book depository. Like, what is it, right?
Exactly.
And then, like, fuck the riddles, you know?
I will also say the stump did not explicitly say don't wake up the monster. The stump just
Well,
said,
you didn't give them the opportunity to.
The stump also didn't want to tell you that Gloria turned into a monster.
well, but this is my point, is like the stump just said let's be quiet, didn't say why. So like that's sketch, you know? Like if the stump was like, hey, heads up, like, you know, this happened, blah blah blah, don't wake her up, I would have been like, oh, chill. Like, we'll figure that out later.
I guess the stump also didn't want to tell you.
I know.
think that's all. And also, so the stump doesn't trust you either.
Exactly.
I think is also kind of the situation. Yeah. In a lot of these situations, people are not 100% forthcoming with all of the information.
Right.
And that's just choices you make. Yeah. You could have made insight rolls. You could have poked around a little bit longer, but it's fine. Like, whatever. The choices are the choices. The funny thing was more that, like, immediately Umbi went, what? With a smug look on his face, tried to confront the stump and then got yeeted. Like, that was funny. like that's what happens.
I'm just glad we didn't have to do a boss battle in the middle of the grove. That's just my hot take.
I don't think he was confronting the stump. I think he was trying to rescue the old lady.
And she did, in fact, get rescued. And we had a question here from Dominique about, Eric, what was planned originally for Gloria the Warm Woman? There's no way you knew about the lifting curse from Cammy, so what would have happened?
No, I did not know.
I will say, ever since I had the option to get remove curse, I've had it in my cards because I saw it and I was like, you know what Cammy would 100% have prepared because of her own situation? Remove curse.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think this is also the thing, though, is like, this explains why the Divine Labyrinth is so annoyed at Cammy. Because it's like, oh, no, I don't like the smell. I remember this sound. This is when I had termites in my house 3 years ago. Like, that's kind of the feeling. So I think maybe this is putting some of that in context a little bit. What would have happened? Yeah, I think what would have happened is, I had it written down in my notes, but Gloria would have turned into the monster, and the monster would have been in the labyrinth as well. Is ultimately what would have happened. Gloria would have woken up, turned into the weird mushroom thing, and then would have been another like harvester in there. Would the monster and the harvester be at odds? Maybe. But we didn't get to that point.
Ooh, that would have been fun, though, to have, like, monster v monster.
Yeah,
and we just
Godzilla
have to
versus King
escape
Kong.
that way. Yeah.
Saved Man wants to know on that note, Eric, were you expecting the party to exit the grove with 2 additional characters you now have to voice and keep track of?
One's a dog, to be fair.
Well, he says, I'm sure the puppy won't go far from Troy's bosom, which was very funny.
Yes, I really want to talk about this, please.
Yes, the rest of Save Man's question actually never occurred to me, which is, on a gameplay note, it seems like a lot of the GMs I listen to try and avoid having NPCs that are a part of the party. I figured that's because it's hard to play, but also seems like it could be a good way for a GM to nudge the story in specific directions. I'm wondering what your thoughts on it, and for the rest of the crew, how do you feel about the GM having a, quote, sleeper agent in your group? It's a good question.
Yeah. I think it brings a little tension to the group, especially with Havana's current trajectory. It's very fun. But this feels to me like when you are playing a RPG game and for example, Baldur's Gate, where you like meet a character and then they're like, all right, well, I live in your base camp now, so we can bring Gloria back to the hold. She doesn't have to necessarily come on missions with us or anything, but now she's like another character who's there.
Yeah, 100%. This was the Cult of the Lamb stuff I was getting at with you having a hold in the first place. Is like, well, you're building a pirate crew. If you feel like adding more people to a pirate crew, then you're going to have more NPCs. Like, it shouldn't be my choice. DM NPCs are something you're supposed to avoid at like all costs as a good DM. Like, don't do it. You then end up railroading, or they end up being overpowered, and your players rely on the DMPC.
That's not the case with Havana.
No, not with which is why your companions are certainly underpowered for this exact reason. Like, you don't want to lean on them too hard. But yeah, no, I think it's up to you. The best version of this, I think, would be Balnor from the first campaign of Not Another D&D Podcast, where he was just like a dude who was there, who also like had a distinct personality from everyone else, like had his own backstory. He was like pulled out of time and space and put into the party, which was really funny. And he also leveled up with the crew, which was, they did it with D&D leveling up, but that's what the whole skill tree is for. So yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to do. I don't want to nudge it in any particular direction. It's more like, look at all these tools you have at your disposal. If you want to bring them with you, that's fine. But like, again, if you start collecting people like Pokemon, then I'm going to be like, okay, guys, let's stop. Let's stop this.
You don't want us to have an entire Greenfolk army every time we go on a mission?
I'd be like, okay, no, I don't want to go on adventures with you, and then they would just leave.
Yeah, like that's, we're not antagonists here. We're building fun together, which involves tension. And so if Eric were to have a DMPC that was like pushing us to do something, that wouldn't be fun or tense for any of us.
Once again, I need to apologize that I made Havana follow the path. That's on me, and I shouldn't have pushed the game in that direction. That's on me. I shouldn't have done it.
You're absolutely right.
I think I'm a bad DM.
In our specific scenario, one, we have a three-person party, which like is a little bit short. So like we need a healer, like a true healer. I think I don't know if Troy does, but two of us have healing stuff, but Troy does not. But we don't have a true healer, just which is classic for us. And I think there's something like when you're a player, and maybe tell me if you guys feel differently, but like when you're a player, you're sort of like looking to the GM to make the thing move, like the story move, and like figure out what sort of emotional impact your characters go through. Like you're less looking to your other players because you're like on the same couch with them. So a DM NPC that's underpowered, like that doesn't really affect the actual like trajectory of the party, but is there to point out like, hey, you remember when player A did something shitty to player B? Deal with that. You know what I mean?
I guess I don't want a character to do that. That's what I'm saying. Is like, I want you to talk to the story. Don't talk to Havana about that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I don't want them to be there for. Like, be like, Havana, solve my problems. Man, Havana's like, no, what? No,
well, it's not solve
away.
My problem. It's just like, and I'm not saying you're doing this. I'm just saying, like, in general, I think it could be useful. It doesn't have to be someone on your party. It could be a shopkeep, but like, someone to point out like the interpersonal stuff between players is sometimes useful because you sort of get like blinders on when you're a player, in my opinion, at least.
I think in our case, that is the audience. Like all of the, the people kind of identifying potential tensions, things that could be happening, like we have so many questions about like, what are you going to do about Havana? Just as a representative example, Sebelicious is like, what are you going to do? Like even if you kill him, then probably Audrey's going to bring him back and he knows all about you guys. Like there's, there are people watching and asking and listening. And for me, when I feel tempted to like let something slide, I'd be like, let me worry about that later. There are people watching the threads that we are dropping versus the ones that we're picking up. Maybe in a home game that's different. Again, all my experience has been here on a microphone with people listening. But that's not like a danger that I feel we're sort of in front of.
Yeah, I think the listener reaction to Havana is really interesting. Because, again, my perspective is always like Cammy is actively trying to see the best in everyone and is not going to like do anything to Havana unless it is explicitly stated that like Havana is trying to kill them or Havana has taken an action and is not going to feel remorse of any kind about it. Mm-hmm. And I think that is why Cammy is like so... not chill about it, but is not like starting direct conflict about it. You know what I mean?
I actually felt very similarly, and Live in Color said, if the Grove makes you tell the truth, why did no one make Havana not lie about the Salt Circle? And the answer is because Troy didn't want to force the issue. Troy wanted to give Havana an opportunity to say something, wanted to gather data on his own, to have a suspicion or not. But saying to Havana, did you betray us, means telling Havana that we thought he might betray us.
Right.
And if that's not true, that sucks.
Yeah.
And so it's very similar.
Imagine having that conversation with a friend in real life,
I was
being
gonna
like,
say,
did
yeah.
you steal from me? And then that person's like, why would you
What the
think I
fuck,
stole
right?
from you? Why do you think that's something that I would even do?
Yeah, exactly.
That's such a trope too. I mean, for all things where you tell the truth is like, yeah, why would you ask me that and look offended is a classic choice to say when you're being held on gunpoint like that.
Yeah,
Right,
but is there more you want to say, Eric, about the DMPC of it all?
No, I've been thinking about this a lot because I've been playing a lot of first-person action RPGs now that I have a PS5. I've played Spider-Man 2 and God of War Ragnarok. And the similarity between an actual play and a AAA single-player RPG is very, very, very similar. And here's a great example. When you're playing God of War Ragnarok, this was a notorious thing from a few years ago, so this is not a spoiler in any way. This probably came up a lot, and now I'm playing it now. You might notice that when you need to find something for a puzzle, which has I don't like the puzzles in God of War Ragnarok. They're very finicky. But like shit is yellow. Like a set of stairs or a gear or a ladder, that's yellow, right? And that is something that is in game design to tell you to look at this. It's very subtle, and the game itself is trying to push you forward. There is another thing that happens, which is when if you don't get a puzzle quick enough, your companion, your son, or this guy, or Mimir, who is a head on a rope, is like, oh, have you thought about this? That's what DMPCs. People fucking hate it when characters go, hey, have you thought about this?
Yes.
And that's if the DMPC did that, you would be like, either lean on it too hard or go shut up. Because the DMPC is always going to be lower status than the PC, right? And that's what I'm trying to do. Is like, I would much rather let the game design and the details and you asking Eric questions be that, because that's how you play the game, not a DMPC being like, hey, have you thought about this? It's different, closer for what Brandon's saying, of like a character being like, hey, you guys have a lot of fucking tension. Can you deal with it?
Exactly.
Can you deal with that right now? Which is what I did with Harold. So that's fair for interpersonal things that PCs also like. Good players don't want inter-party conflict.
Right.
Like, that's fair.
Yeah.
So a NPC giving you permission to do that is fair. But it's like, in terms of story or plot or puzzle solving, I would much rather you talk to Eric or find the yellow ladder than a DMPC saying, hey, have you thought about this?
Same. Brandon, Amanda Maz had an interesting question for you. Do you have tips for self-regulating when things go like the end of episode 30 and your roles are not cooperating? I know we laugh, we say classic, we say what the fuck is happening with you, but do you want to talk at all about your experience in those moments?
That was like inside the actor's studio where James Lipton was like, is Bart here? Could you bring Bart out? You were like, Brandon, are the bad rolls here? Can you bring the bad rolls out?
I'm inviting them. I'm inviting them in.
Can the bad rolls come to the table?
I mean, I think it's helpful if you're a player or a DM to be like, yeah, that was a tight idea. I wish it would have worked. I'm so sorry. Or like, not even sorry. Just like, man, like saying that was a cool idea and a good thought. That's what matters. It doesn't matter if it actually happens or not. But it's like, if you spend some time thinking up a fun, interesting, unique thing to do, if that then fails, you don't care if it fails or not. You just want to be like, yeah, that was a cool idea, man.
There are things you need to give people. That's why I use powers so much. Like, hey, you can just do this. So the whole thing about Umbi getting yeeted and then using his big hat to fly down and see more of the labyrinth and get a point. Like, yeah, there you go. Do it. Like, yes, that's a great idea. Give the point. The problem was you did it again and then you failed the roll. Like, the second time you got to roll for it, but the first time I'm not going to make you roll on that.
Yeah.
True.
But otherwise, the tip is go to some anger management classes, really learn how to mediate the wellspring within yourself about failure. It helps to do 5 years of a podcast where you roll badly every time.
True.
Fair. True.
Let's talk about the puppies, guys. Laura wants to know if each of you got one of the pups. What kind would it be and what would you name it? And Katya wants to know, Eric, why specifically did you want Troy to have the pumpkin puppy? I know the answer, but let's let Katya know. Was it vibes or do they all have different powers?
It was the fall, and I wanted you to have the pumpkin. The pumpkin puppy was the one I came up with first. I don't know. I thought it was nice.
Julia, Brandon, who stood out to you?
Straw puppy.
That's adorable.
A cutie.
I also shout out to my cattail puppy. I thought that was really cute.
Yeah.
That was cute. I love that.
Too cute, dude.
There were also other opportunities. You could have come up with anything that would have fit, and you could have had a puppy. But you gave it to me, so I gave you the one that I came up with first.
Yeah.
Can I say something first?
Yeah.
Hey, this is a tip for all you DMs out there. When someone rolls a 1, put in an intrusive thought in the character's head.
It's true.
Don't have to use the spell.
It's not a failure. It's you're not making them poop themselves, and they don't have to do anything about that thought, but they are going to start thinking about that thought, aren't they?
They really are. And this was like, listen, I also think episode 30 was an all-timer of Join the Party, but also I spent the entire thing fucking around and like screaming about homophones. So I feel like I can't judge. And on that topic, Qual 101-995 said, who's going to tell Troy that the bow of a ship and a crossbow, the bow of a crossbow are spelled the same? But I also want to know, why don't we have enough words that there's one of each? It makes no sense at all.
So funny.
Makes me laugh.
That's so stupid. I forgot that you led with that. That was the first thing in the
Yeah, we started
episode.
recording and I said, shut up, I got this.
Yeah.
And it just came to me. But guys, I'm so excited to get to know this puppy more. Haven't named them, got some good suggestions. We'll see what happens. And, normally I shout out the kind of listener interaction I want to see more of in the world. And when you guys DM me on Instagram about stuff about work, I'm like, it can be a little tough, but that's me being a semi-public figure. This is an iconic interaction I would never change for the world. This is Dame Ohaha, who said on Instagram, I woke up to 2 Instagram messages. Okay, they were sent 25 minutes apart. First, BS, Eric wouldn't give you a new oatcake. 25 minutes later, I was too quick to judge.
So funny.
So good.
You'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. Absolutely iconic. Listen, I don't know. Is this the longest con of all time to get puppies in all 3 of my major campaigns? Who can say?
I just need to say it took a 5% roll and a funny intrusive thought and also making it happen for this to happen. Yeah. Anyone could have got a puppies. There was a puppy party in the Grove. Of course there was. That's what it was there for.
Speaking of, did you have that planned, or was that just like a fun thing you did on the spot?
The puppy party?
Yeah.
Yeah, I planned that one, yeah.
Nice.
Everything that you interacted with was like there in the Grove. Yeah, I wrote it out.
Nice.
So good.
Nice.
And the stuff that you didn't interact with was in the Grove as well.
Oh no, Eric, I want to know.
Oh, sorry.
What was
Oops.
there?
You'll tell us later. You'll tell
Maybe
us
I'll
after
tell. Maybe
we're
I'll tell
done.
you if it ever comes up. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, but there's so much here. Julia, anything that you're like excited or nervous about re Gloria? I thought this was such a touching and cool and lovely scene. I was just watching it like a movie, and we'll see kind of how Gloria does in the episodes to come. But anything you want to share?
I'm very curious to learn more about her. The fact that she's like an ancient hero. I want to know like how she got to the Labyrinth, why she's there, why she got cursed, how she got cursed. I just want to know all of her backstory, because you know me, like I'm an ancient Greek bitch, so I really want to hear like what her parallels are and like who I can relate her to.
No, I'm excited as well. And actually, Julia, one more question before we get into some bigger game questions and some who can says. Also from Amanda Maz, does Cammy consider themselves cursed? You've answered this a few ways to a few different people, but I wanted to ask directly.
I don't think Cammy sees her powers as a curse, but I think she does also understand that like that is how people perceive her, which is part of a curse in general.
Cool.
And so it's a yes and no. Cammy doesn't think of herself as cursed, but understands that that's the perception that most people see her as.
True.
Same,
me too, personally.
Mm-hmm.
From Hastor, Prince in Yellow. Is it possible the Waterer might be an antagonist? It seems to me that the Cascade could be a direct result of the Waterer acting as a vanguard or something over Verda Stello. Maybe he just got tired of doing the Cascade thing and like left? I thought this was such a fascinating guess and sort of insight into like the pantheon of Verda Stello.
Yeah.
It's a cool world building thing. And the idea that like maybe I don't read that as antagonistic. I read that as maybe there's conflict in the pantheon that we don't know about.
Very, very interesting.
Seems neat.
Well, this is the question I have is like, before this, we didn't have any clue that there might be a pantheon, right? It was just the planter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, that was a big revelation.
It's also really interesting because, like, just from like a religious perspective, there is oftentimes like this idea of going from polytheism to monotheism as time goes on. And the fact that the labyrinth is so much older, like it's older than the cascade drying up, or at least this time around, because there's implications
Correct.
that the cascade has dried up before. The fact that there's something called the Waterer that Cammy, as a former religious devotee of the path, had never heard of. It kind of implies this idea of maybe the pantheon has changed since the last time the cascade dried up.
I didn't put that together till just now of like when I think it was you, Julia, asked like how did Gloria get here if the cascade wasn't dried up? And Eric was like, huge amounts of skill. I thought you were just trying to cover up a inconsistency, but no, I think
No, that shit's real. Gloria
Okay.
Gloria got in there before the cascade dried up. Straight up.
or at another cycle of the drying up.
Because we know that
Previously.
they have the drought stones. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating.
who can say?
Seems cool.
Seems
Actually,
cool.
Brandon,
What an interesting world that's been created.
and actually, Brandon, from I'm Not a Goldfish, relevant, is Umbi so old because he's the umbilical cord of Verda Stello?
Boo.
Do not boo this man, Julia.
I'm booing it.
Listen,
Boo this goldfish.
we got some Umbi Golden Bachelor fan art, so I can retire. Absolutely incredible.
Oh yeah, I wanted to say shout out. I think it's Ginger May art. Shout out for that art of Umbi as the Golden Bachelor. Jesus
truly
Christ,
incredible.
it gave me
So
lots of
good.
good feels.
Well, we have some chunky folks lining up to spoil the plague. But first, Moss the Sentient Rock has asked some incredible questions about just the world of Verda Stello lately. So I want to just sort of do a sprinkling of these.
I kind of don't even want to answer these questions. I kind of like them on their own as questions.
Oh, just like
it's just
for-
like, wow, who can say? Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, here are the questions from Moss Sentient Rock. What is the Verda Stello version of the IKEA meatballs, and why are they overrated? I want to like hit a gong every time I read one of these.
Hey, Julia. Thank you.
I'll see what I can do.
When was the last time everyone had a good cry? Gong. Can green folk use their own body as an instrument? What weird bands and cults have happened because of that?
Some, I'm sure.
Cool.
If the answer is yes, here's another thought. If the crew had to build a ship from scratch, how badly would it go? And why would it go wrong?
Rude.
I know. Moss's questions, like, Moss also asked a bunch of these, like, hey, sorry, I was on a train across Europe all night. Here's the best I got. And then it was like 25 incredibly potent questions.
Moss was like, I went to IKEA and then I studied for 48 hours. Here's some questions.
I'm sorry. Here you go. Like, Moss, you're doing great. You're doing great, bud.
Which Taylor Swift era is each character, and what would they have done to get tickets in our world?
Troy would have sold sperm without asking any questions. Troy would have absolutely sold some bodily fluids.
I mean, Umbi would have done murder. He's a fucking pirate.
Yeah. And what's the outer space situation like? And how much do green folk know about it? I'm like, God damn, I gotta come up with space.
Yeah,
It's a great
that's good
question.
You know Hot House is making a rocket somewhere. You know
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I promise you, unlike the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I will not be going to space.
But what about
Thank
the
you,
Fast
thank
and
you.
Furious cinematic universe?
Okay, then we'll only roughly go to space.
Okay.
We'll suggest going to space.
Can we imply that Ludacris might die in space?
That's fine, yeah.
That's good.
Like Red Bull, like one of those guys who work for Red Bull who jumps from like the stratosphere.
Yeah.
We're
Felix
almost going to
Baumgartner,
space.
put some respect on his name, Eric.
Wow, what a pull, Brandon.
Wow.
Absolute
I think
pull.
that was his name.
Is that something you saw on Brandon, what Delta flight were you on?
There's only one that I want to answer, or rather that I want you guys to answer, which is, what is everyone's favorite tea that Cammy makes them?
The one from her hands.
Aww.
Wow.
Yeah.
What What's not weird?
It's all weird.
You know, the first thing that came to my mind, Julia, was Cammy's eyelashes.
Oh,
Great.
rare.
Okay.
I like that.
It's like cat whiskers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Cammy's butt. Nice.
Nice.
What
No.
a
It's a hot
Nice.
tea, if you know what I mean.
nice. Let's
God
go.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you, Moss, doing the Lord's work. We appreciate you. And here we go. Are you all ready to spoil the plank?
Yeah.
Arr.
Arr.
Okay. Here's from EP Fella. Will Panorama come back? Will they be smited asking for a friend?
Fair.
Well, if it's for a friend, I'll tell you explicitly right now.
Dr. Spurgeon. For real, would Troy have left Havana behind or the puppy? I'm putting this in here because, I mean, I have an answer in my brain, but for now, who can say?
Yeah.
I know I'm touching on this right at the end of the episode, but I didn't want to say it's like, I said this at some point in the Slack, but I'm like, the funny part about learning about like the Torah from Christians is that people are like, wow, God was such a dick in the Old Testament, but now he's like a cool guy who's nice to people in the New Testament. But I'm like, nah, dog, God just fucking rocks. Absolutely metal as fuck in the Torah. So it's like when Jacob wrestles that angel and like literally wrestles him, I find that so incredibly funny and interesting that like it literally happened. They literally were like Greco-Roman wrestling, and then Plato came in and tapped out. And like I find that so funny. So that's kind of how I feel like the planter has been during the Labyrinth, like almost not a person in the way that like the Greek gods are people or have wants and needs and get angry and are vain and stuff, but like at least we'll like get in your face about it a little bit.
Yeah.
and we'll figure out ways to get in your face, which is the whole point of like the treating of the tree eating. If you fuck with the Planter's Grove, something's gonna happen to you.
Right.
And I think that was kind of like the kind of god that I liked that I kind of like the Planter to be.
The fuck around and find out God.
The fuck around and find out god, yeah, for sure. Which is so much more interesting when that's like the only one you have instead of a like only one of the gods of the pantheon is a fuck around and find out, or like the god of tricks or something.
Yeah. I imagine the angel before he wrestled that guy being like, "Oh yeah, hold my bag," and then
God damn it.
And Jacob was like, "I'm not taking the bag."
Yeah. But Amanda, drunk in the bathroom, is like, whatever you need, sweetie. Break up with him. Yeah. Also from Dr. Spurgeon, we have, are all the keys food? Are we making stew? Potato gaze, spicy pepper hurts, sky soup, water shrug.
I love this
a lot
idea.
of. I know, it's very cool. It's very cool. Also, we had some theories about like the 5 different senses, so keep them coming, folks. It helps me a lot. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I know, right?
She also asked who the puppies belong to.
This is a puppy party in the Grove, folks. Don't worry about it.
Why do the puppies have to belong to anyone? They're puppies.
Maybe it's God, but Troy will stand between God and the puppy.
Can anyone really own a puppy? Can anyone really own a puppy?
Exactly.
You know?
But you can put the puppy on a leash and have it run around.
Would the world know that the salmon had been found? I don't trust that everyone has the same goals. Same, Michelle.
Yeah.
And knowing that this key regrows, are there replica versions of the other keys out there too?
I think you explicitly said that none of the other keys regrow the way that the key for a maze does.
I don't remember if I did.
You
Well,
did.
yeah.
As
did.
the stump. You didn't
Oh,
say
the
it as
stump.
Eric.
Yeah.
You said it as the stump.
Oh, right, yeah. The stump was like, this one's special. It regrows.
Yeah, but that
Right,
doesn't mean there
right.
aren't other replica versions of some.
Right,
or
because we
molds.
already saw that they're attempting to create replica versions
Right.
because of what we found in that Overstock ship.
Mm-hmm.
And then a number of great spoil the planks from Glass Cat Owl. So first, was the planter's desire to get Cammy out of the maze less to do with her alleged unholiness and more due to the possibility that the nature of the maze might cause her curse to turn her into a monster like Gloria?
Not
Monster
something I
Julia,
considered.
Monster Julia, Monster Julia.
That could be fun.
Man, I don't want to see Julia wielding legendary reaction. What is that called? Is that what it is?
Legendary resistance.
Yeah,
Yes,
legendary
yes, yes.
resistance, yeah.
nasty. Love it.
Yeah.
And we got a number of great Spoil the Planks from Glass Cat Owl, starting with, what did Gloria's full monster form look like?
Oh, I can actually say this. Gloria was going to be a giant, weird mushroom person.
Cool. That's what I figured.
Like in The Last of Us kind of situation?
More, even bigger and larger. The comparison that I made was Plasmus, that you might remember from Teen Titans, who also became a weird monster when this person woke up and was like awake. But yeah, it would have been just like a terrifying, it would have been like a real scary monster. So then there would have been two different types of monsters following you around in the labyrinth.
Yeah. That would have been
Cool.
dope, though. I'm into that.
Very scary.
Kind of like Godzilla, and she deserves some respect on her name.
An incredible joke, Brandon. I'm going to do that for the rest of my life.
So funny.
What did Havana talk to his Jim Jam about? It wasn't her.
What did he talk to her about?
And was it her cussing him out for betraying Cammy?
Who can say?
I think it was just like, Jim Jam, you didn't give me the full recipe. Like, you left out something. Please tell me the recipe for your pie.
I know I'm a doctor, Jim Jam. I know. Men can be doctors.
Yeah.
And finally, what would have happened if Cammy's healing herself in the grove had been disrupted by holy energy or whatever Eric was rolling for? Would the spell have failed, or were there other negative consequences?
Who can say?
Who can
say?
say where the
Interesting.
answer is?
I certainly can't.
Only Eric can.
I was wondering so much, like at that moment when Havana was like, no, I can't heal you. Sorry. I'm broken. This is out of order. The shake machine is out of order. And I was wondering so much what Brandon and Havana were gonna do with that.
Troy's a father now, so he can't focus on anything but the wiggling newborn in his jacket. Speaking of which, the puppy that I've been keeping in my windbreaker the whole time does need to go play. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna get on out of here, folks.
Oh no, the puppy's in the turkey again. Oh
No.
no.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.
May your rolls trend ever upward.
I'll sing you a song that all green folk know.
Until the water falls home. That only began 50 years ago.